Okay, let's start over. Good afternoon. Thank you, Brittany. I'm Ray Beck, and I'm honored to moderate Senate District 5 debate. We would like to welcome our Democratic candidate, Cole Buerger, and Republican candidate, Marc Catlin, to the stage. Thank you both for joining us today and for your willingness to serve Western Colorado. Before we begin, we would like to go over some of the ground rules. Candidates should focus on ideas, not personalities. Candidates should be courteous and should not make any inflammatory statements. Disrespect or attacking speech or profane language will not be tolerated. Candidates may not display a prop of any kind. Candidates must be strictly adhere to the time limits of each section of the debate. The moderator reserves the right to cut off a candidate who exceeds the time limit or to redirect a candidate if their remarks are not pertinent to the elected office. Do you both agree to these rules?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Additionally, we ask that all audience members exhibit professional decorum during these debates. Limited applause is allowed, but unruly outbursts or disruptions are prohibited, and the debate moderator may penalize the candidate's time if their supporters are unable to maintain the decorum. Audience members should also be aware that these debates will be filmed and live streamed for public viewing. With that, we will begin the opening remarks. A coin toss was conducted backstage, and candidate Catlin has chosen to begin the opening remarks. Candidate Catlin, go ahead.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you all for being here. These are important. I appreciate you folks taking the time out of your day to come and see us. First off, I want to tell you that I was born and raised on the Western Slope. I've lived on the Western Slope my whole life. Every job that I've had is on the Western Slope, and I've had some good jobs. But this is the most important job I've ever had. Representing the people that trust me enough to send me to Denver is one of those honors in life that we don't all get. So I want you to know that the things that I'm about in this race is, first off, I want to protect our Western Slope water. I want to keep it here, not downstream and not over the other side of the mountain. It belongs here. It should stay here. That's the first thing we need to be talking about. The second thing is that I want to protect ag. I want to protect farms and ranches and their source of water. I want to protect productive agriculture on the Western Slope and in the 5th District. Because without it, one of our foundation stones in our community would be lacking, and we can't afford to have our communities lacking. The other thing is that I want to protect clean drinking water for the communities on the Western Slope. We are blessed with clear, good water. We need to keep it that way. That's one of the things that I'm really interested in doing when I go to the Senate. The other thing is our cost of living on the Western Slope is incredibly high. We need to do a lot more about how we address cost of living on the Western Slope. And that's one of the things where I think that my experience will be one of the things that could help. Anyway, thank you so much, and I think I'm about out of time, right? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, candidate Buerger, you have 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Well, I appreciate that, Ray. It's so good to be here, all of you. I thank you for taking the time to show up. And I thank Club 20 and the sponsors for putting on such an important forum so that everybody has the opportunity to learn about where I stand and my opponent stands. Thank you to Representative Catlin for being here as well. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Cole Buerger. I'm a 5th generation Coloradan. I serve on the board of the Middle Colorado Watershed Council and the Colorado River Valley Economic Development Partnership. I volunteer as an English tutor at Literacy Outreach in Glenwood Springs. I'm a small business owner. My partner and I just opened a business on the banks of the Colorado River after 3 years of fighting through bureaucracy and red tape. I'm running for state senate because the people of SD5 deserve new leadership and effective leadership in the legislature. During the course of this debate, I look forward to talking about some of my ideas to address the affordability crisis in Colorado, from housing to healthcare to childcare, ways that we can protect our water and our natural heritage, ways that we can support our ag producers and our small businesses, and ways that we can make sure that we are going to defend our fundamental rights and freedoms in the state of Colorado. I grew up on my family's ranch just south of Silt, where we raised Simmentals and quarter horses. My very first memory is actually irrigating with my mom in our alfalfa fields on a very rickety three-wheeler. I know how lucky we are to call this place home, but I also know the unique challenges we face on this side of the mountain. When a road goes down in Denver, it's a 5-10 minute delay. When it goes down here, we have hours to go, and it severs critical access to schools and hospitals and other essential services. It hurts our economies and the vitality of our towns. I'm not a career politician. I'm just somebody who loves our communities, who understands this district, and who wants to fight hard for rural Colorado. At the end of the day, this election is about one thing. Oh,
It goes fast.
yeah, it goes fast.
All right, thank you. We'll now move into the question and answer portion of the debate. Each candidate will be asked to respond to 4 questions that have been submitted by Club 20 members and our partners. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. The candidate who goes first on each question will also have the opportunity to offer a 30-second rebuttal to the other candidate's response for the particular question. The candidate that went first in opening remarks will offer the first response to the first question, which means, candidate Catlin, you will be up first.
Okay.
Here's the first question. As a Western Slope legislator, you will be outnumbered by those from the Denver metro area in the Front Range. How will you stand up for Western Colorado to ensure that our voice does not get lost? What strategy or relationships might you implement to ensure the success of Western Slope legislative priorities?
Well, thank you. I guess that comes right into what I've been doing. Every bill that I have run is co-sponsored by somebody in the opposition party, and we've passed numerous bills. I've ran over 120 bills representing the Western Slope and my home district. I don't run bills that don't represent something in my district. The other thing is, I've been voted the most bipartisan man a couple of times in the building. I'm also currently the sitting vice chair of Ag, Water, and Natural Resources, and was appointed to that position by 2 different speakers of the House. I don't think that's ever happened before. Our voices are well heard through me because I bring the bills that make a difference to you and I, and hear it on the Western Slope. I do have the respect of the opposition party, and they know that I'm bringing bills that would be good for my district and therefore good for the state and Western Colorado. Thank you.
Candidate Buerger, you have the same question and you have 1 minute. Do I need to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
All right. As a Western Slope legislator, you will be outnumbered by those from the Denver metro area and the Front Range. How will you stand up for Western Colorado to ensure that our voice does not get lost? What strategies or relationships might you implement to ensure the success of Western Slope legislative priorities?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. You know, one of the things that we know is that whether you're Republican or Democrat and you're a Western Slope legislator, you've got to work together. I also think that it's really important to make sure that we're showing up in every single community. District 5 is an incredibly diverse district. It has Aspen and it has Delta. A lot of different interests there. But it's really about showing up, listening, building relationships. I'd like to see more of our Front Range colleagues, if I end up getting there, come to our side of the mountain to better understand our challenges, and that way we can find the common ground necessary to advance good legislation. The big thing about this race for me is that if you send me to the state Senate, I'll be able to play effective offense and not defense for Western Colorado, and I look forward to doing that.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to question number 2.
Wait till I get a chance to rebut.
You do, 30 seconds.
Thank you. You know, the idea that we'll go on offense is one of the things that bothers me. We are in a situation where we need to protect what we have rather than trying to make deals with those on the eastern slope. We have done a great job of taking care of the western slope in regards to our water, to our natural resources and those kind of things, because the people that have been going to represent you are able to discuss that with the urbanites and get their agreement. So I think we've been playing offense.
Okay, we're going to move on to the second question. This second question now will go to candidate Buerger. Question: Western Slope residents regularly suffer from frequent closures of major highways, especially I-70, which recently has been closed far more often than ever before. More recently, residents have been impacted by the ongoing US 40 projects, US 50 projects that seem to take longer to fix than expected, forcing multiple hour detours and in some cases, no route in or out. What can you do to elevate the state priority for highways that the Western Slope depends on?
Well, one of the first things I would like to do is, this is why I want to sit on the Energy and Transportation Committee, to make sure that we are getting the appropriate amount of resources back here to our side of the mountain. We know that there are not that many of us on this side of the mountain in comparison, but there are a lot of miles of road, and we need to make sure that the calculus for CDOT funding and others reflects the mileage rather than just the number of people. I would also say that we've got to be proactive about some of these issues in terms of inspections for bridges. If we'd been proactive and caught the cracks in those bridges when they were 1 or 2 inches rather than 10, we might have been able to save some dollars and continue to use that road in the interim without a full shutdown. And I would also say that the last thing is, let's look at Plan B and be ahead of the game on that. We should have known that we need backups for these really critical pinch points, and we should be advancing plans to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Okay, thank you. Same question to you, candidate Catlin. Do you want me to repeat it?
No, I think I'm all right.
Okay.
I sit on the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee in the House of Representatives. In fact, I'm the ranking member. One of the things that we have done is that we continue to hold CDOT accountable. What's happening is that they continue to lower the budget for rural paving projects, and you and I both drive on those same roads. We know that. I have voted for and supported bills that would help I-70. In other words, keeping trucks on the far right and not allowing them to be in the left lane. Some of those kind of things are new and different. We've just now started thinking about them. The bridge over Blue Mesa was one of those situations that I don't think anybody would have caught it any earlier. Those bridges were built in the 60s with techniques that we didn't know were not right. They welded those pieces of steel rather than bolted them together. And that's what caused the brittleness and caused them to crack. We need to just make sure that we get those people as much work as they can. They've been working 24 hours a day to get that bridge fixed.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Candidate Buerger, you have 30-second rebuttal.
I appreciate that. I think this is a little bit of a shirking responsibilities. If you sit on that committee, we make changes and look forward rather than doing things the same way we have been all the time. If we continue to have the same political answers and we expect different results, this is what we get. I think that we have to be proactive about going forward and make sure that we're planning ahead and learning the lessons from these problems.
Okay. We'll now move on to the third question. Third question will go to candidate Catlin. You have 1 minute. Third question: water is a vital resource for both residents and agriculture in Colorado, and managing it effectively is increasingly challenging. What policies do you propose to ensure sustainable water management in Senate District 5, and how will you balance the needs of different stakeholders, including municipalities, farmers, and environmental groups?
Well, the Colorado River is the heartblood of the 5th District, and I sat as the Vice President of the Colorado River District, and we are doing some things about the Colorado River that I don't think anybody thought could be done. First off is buying the water rights out of that Shoshone power plant. I ran and passed a bill this year to put another $20 million from the state coffers into purchasing that water right for the benefit of the Western Slope. As far as taking care of the people that are here on the Western Slope, if agriculture's water is still in the river, it still has the benefits for environmentalists and for recreationalists. And as far as our communities are concerned, we have some of the best water rights available in the Colorado River and in the basin, every community. What we're trying to do is to make sure that we can ensure that clean drinking water for every community. And the agricultural lands around those communities are going to be able to help with that.
Thank you. Candidate Buerger, you have the same question. You have 1 minute. Do I need to repeat it?
Would you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Water is a vital resource for both residents and agriculture in Colorado, and managing it effectively is increasingly challenging. What policy do you propose to ensure sustainable water management in Senate District 5? And how will you balance the needs of different stakeholders, including municipalities, farmers, and environmental groups?
I appreciate the question. I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that water is not a partisan issue on this side of the mountain. We're all working very hard to protect it, every single last drop. Prior appropriation is going to be a critical piece of that and should guide us in every way, making sure that we are protecting the agricultural rights and historic rights before we're expanding any new usages. The Shoshone project, I think, is great. I've seen it. It's going to be a huge benefit to keeping in-stream flows and making sure that we have greater resources down this way, and I'm very supportive of it. And you know, one of these things about water is that we know that it touches us every single time, whether you're agriculture or resort owners or anything else. So protecting it, making sure that people like my folks continue to have their water rights protected and their livelihoods protected, and what we can do to be very sustainable in that growth is what I will fight for in Denver.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Catlin, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
One of the things that I wanted to say is that the prior appropriation doctrine is incredibly important to the state of Colorado, but so is the Colorado River Compact. That's something that maintains our allotments of water out of the state, out of the Colorado River. There is a lot of pressure down below us that they would like to renegotiate that because they think they've got a bigger need and a bigger want and a bigger right to that river. That's something we need to be very aware of and be always wary of.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to the fourth and final question. And this question will go to candidate Buerger, and then we'll have an opportunity for a rebuttal later. Question 4, as housing costs continue to rise, many residents face challenges in finding affordable places to live. What strategies do you propose to address the affordable housing crisis in your district, and how will you work with local governments and organizations to implement these solutions?
We all know that affordability is the absolute top of mind issue for almost everyone in Colorado, certainly in many of the resort communities of Colorado. It's not going to be a silver bullet fix when it comes to housing, but housing's a big piece of it. When I think about housing, I think we need to get out of the way, whether that's construction defects, whether that's making sure that we can streamline some of the zoning and local control areas, making sure that we're working on public-private partnerships and finding good, reliable sources and sustainable funding for what has already been passed at the state legislature, including the Affordable Housing Fund. This can't be solved only by the public sector. It's got to be making sure that we're working and finding solutions alongside the private sector so that they have incentives to build single-family homes and condominiums, and not just $5 million homes in Aspen. So looking forward to working on that, and it'll be very top of mind for me in Denver.
Okay, thank you, sir. Same question to you, candidate Catlin.
You want to repeat that for me?
I certainly can. As housing costs continue to rise, many residents face challenges in finding affordable places to live. What strategies do you propose to address the affordable housing crisis in your district, and how will you work with local governments and organizations to implement these solutions?
Well, one of the things that I'm switching to, and I believe in this, is attainable housing. We continue to talk about affordability. But what I'm coming at this with is that the community would sit down together. That we were having problem with school teachers and doctors and all of the people that need a place to live. We need to bring all of them to the same table, put them together so that everybody has something to pitch in. Then bring the local builders in and see what can we do and how can we go about doing that. Everybody in the community is looking at the same problem, trying to fix their part of it, rather than trying to do it individually, the school district versus the hospital versus the fire department, so that we can combine those dollars together. And when we know what it costs and we know how much we can raise to do it, then we would go to the state and start talking about grants and or permanent financing. These are some of the things that I'd like to see done.
Thank you, sir. Candidate Buerger, you have 30 seconds.
I would also just take this time to expand upon where else we need to address the affordability crisis. I think we need to look into making sure we're driving down healthcare costs. I've talked a lot about hoping that we can help small businesses provide better benefits, create risk pools so that they can provide insurance for their employers. I also would like to see childcare costs come down. We need to expand access to childcare so that every time when we're building one unit of housing, maybe we can build a support a childcare center that will affect hundreds. So it's got to be an across-the-board approach.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the Q&A at this point of the program. So we're going to move on to the cross-examination portion of the debate. Cross-examination. Each candidate will be given 4 minutes to ask questions of their opponent on matters pertinent to the race or office. Please be reminded that questions should be pertinent to the office you are running for and should not include any attacking speech or profane language. I reserve the right to redirect a candidate if their remarks are not pertinent to the elected office. So with that, this is your opportunity, candidate Catlin, to do your cross-examination. You have 4 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Well, we've talked about the Colorado River and about prior appropriation doctrine and about how we're using that to protect the state of Colorado. You have stated that you would be in favor of renegotiating the Colorado River Compact. Can you explain that?
Would you explain where I stated that?
Yes, sir, I will. In the Post-Independent, June 2nd, 2022. When it comes to water policy, the key is working with downstream users in the Colorado River Basin to renegotiate the Colorado River Compact.
Well, I think what I meant was that the renegotiation's coming up, the renewal of it's coming up, and we're going to have to make sure that we have a strong presence there to do that. I've talked a lot about how we have to give Attorney General Weiser the resources and budget to make sure he can fight on behalf of us and keep as much water as we can, every drop we can here in Colorado. So this wasn't an advocacy in favor of somebody, aside from in favor of us and making sure that we have the people on the ground and the willingness to do it.
I appreciate the answer, but the point is we are not renegotiating the Colorado River Compact. We're renegotiating the operation of Lake Powell and Lake Mead. Those are the operating orders that we've been living under since 2007, and they're going to renew in 2025. We have the team that's doing those things. So can you explain to me what you think the renegotiation would mean?
Oh, I think it's just my mistake was that it's a misunderstanding of what the terminology was. I know that we're going to have to come up with the fact that we need a new plan, and we'll work together to make sure we get it done.
I see. Are you familiar with the team that we have that's in the process of doing the renegotiation?
Yes, Becky Mitchell and others, yes, I am.
Okay. To move on to affordable housing, you bring that up a lot, and not just affordable housing, but how would you go about helping the cost of healthcare?
Well, I talked about this just a little bit just now. I think that we can work at the state level to help small businesses create risk insurance pools so that they can offer better healthcare plans to their employees. I think that we can expand access through rural clinics, making sure that we're expanding telehealth. There's a lot of ways that we can do it.
Do you know of any bills that have been passed that would help with some of that?
I do. I'm
Which
aware of
ones?
some. No, I mean, I think that you worked on one that was making sure that we are keeping healthcare workers in our rural communities, and I think that there are other ways that we can go about that.
Well, we went about financing an opportunity to bring more doctors to rural Colorado and health care professionals, if that's the one that you're talking about. Am I done at the end of that?
You got 45
45 seconds?
if you choose to use it.
I do. What do you think is the most important thing we can do in Senate District 5?
I think the most important thing we can do in Senate District 5 is actually work to restore our rural infrastructure and protect our ag and water infrastructure. There's a lot of work to be done there, and it's the one critical thing that connects us all together, and especially in our economies.
I'm in. I'm done.
Yep. You got 17 seconds if you'd like to use it, or if you're done.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, now Candidate Buerger, you have 4 minutes to ask questions of Candidate Catlin.
Yes, Representative Catlin, you just asked me about health care. I would like to ask you why you voted against a bipartisan bill to create a school-based mental health support system that would have helped address all of the health care crisis that we're facing in rural Colorado.
Because the school districts in my district couldn't afford it.
Second question, what about why did you vote against extending grants to underserved veterans from the state and not allowing it sunset at 2031 instead of last year?
Would you tell me which bill that was?
That was House Bill 24-1273.
And what was the title?
I don't have the title in front of me, but basically what it did is it extended grants to veterans for underserved veterans through 2031.
I don't think I voted that way, but maybe I did.
I
I
checked
don't
it
think
this
so.
morning.
But the point is, if you can't tell me what the bill was doing, I don't know where I was at, so thank you.
Okay. We also are talking about affordability on this stage. I think there's a lot of opportunity to make sure that we're putting money back in the pockets of Coloradans. You voted against HB 1311, which provided tax relief to over 300,000 hardworking Coloradans by increasing the earned income tax credit and expanding the child tax credit. You voted no on HB 24-1268, which made it easier for seniors and Coloradans with disabilities to receive property tax relief and heat assistance. You voted no on HB 24-1312 to create a state income tax credit for child care and direct care workers to boost incomes and address workforce shortages in nursing homes, home care, and child care sector. You voted no on HB 23-1008, creating a tax credit that would have alleviated financial and structural burdens for local food systems. My question is, if you want to focus on affordability, why are we voting against these things? Reagan himself personally advocated for the earned income tax credit.
Well, I don't think any of those bills were ready for prime time. That's the reason I voted no on them. Because in my district, they weren't exactly what we were talking about.
Okay. What do you think made you vote for making abortion a Class 1 felony?
Well, it was a bill that was brought up to negate a bill that was being brought up by the opposition, and I voted with my party.
Okay. Speaking of voting with your party, the state party earlier this year sent out an email attacking me, not for my issue, not on the issues, but me personally. Senator Simpson condemned a similar email about his opponent, but you remained silent on this one.
No, I didn't.
Why should the people of SD5 trust you to stand up for everybody in this district?
Because I spoke to you personally, sir.
And
I talked to you about that issue and told you that was not how I feel and that I don't care who you love. You and I agreed it was not an issue in this campaign. Now it is.
Well, you stayed silent publicly, you let them send it out, and you took dollars from that email that resulted from that email being sent out.
But you and I had spoken about it personally, and it was discussed, and we agreed that that was not the issue in this campaign.
That this is your party, and you've got to stand up to your party more often. This is the problem in this race, actually.
Candidate, let's make sure that the questions are pertinent to the office.
Yeah.
Well, time and time again, we have seen the representative vote alongside his party and not with the interests of SD5 or the people of SD5. Another example of this, voting to thank January 6th insurrectionists in the state House of Representatives. That is not the values that the people of SD5 need. We need independent, fresh leadership in the state Senate. I will conclude.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, each candidate is now going to be given 2 minutes to present their closing remarks. Candidate Buerger, you will go first.
Sue, I'm super happy to be here. I really appreciate taking the time and energy to show up here today. I'm so excited about what we can get done for Western Colorado if you send me to the state Senate. I look forward to working on affordable housing, working on lowering healthcare costs, lowering childcare costs, and increasing access. I look forward to protecting our water and our public lands, fighting for people like my family members on their ranch. I look forward to working on infrastructure, making sure that none of our communities are ever severed permanently from communities again. These are all things that are at the heart, the very heart, of what we have to deal with here in Western Colorado. If you send me to the state Senate, I will be in the majority. I will be able to not only influence and better shape legislation that is impacting our communities, I'll be able to kill bad legislation, and that won't happen with my opponent. I am super excited and energized to go to Denver and make all of the difference for every single one of you and center the people of SD5 and not my party. I thank you again for being here, and I look forward to you answering any questions you might have in the lobby. You can learn more about my campaign at coal4colorado.org.
Thank you. Candidate Catlin, you have 2 minutes for closing comments.
Thank you. Well, this race certainly shows a difference. Being of the minority, I have to work with my other colleagues in the State House, and I've been able to do that. To say that you'll be able to do more from the majority sounds to me like they can't wait for you to get there. Aurora, Denver, and Boulder, they like certain things, and they get certain things, and they get them from their majority. We are not able to deal with another urban legislator from our communities. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about agriculture, we're talking about water, we're talking about natural resources, we're talking about what our district is. Our people are Western Slope natives and people that have decided they wanted to live here. We need to stand up and represent what they think they need, not what the majority thinks that would be right. This is the kind of thing that really is disappointing in regards to the House of Representatives and the Senate of the state of Colorado. We have to be listening to the people that send us rather than what's being said by someone outside of the district. I'm well in tune with the people that have sent me. In fact, I'm very proud of having them send me. The other thing that proves that is I have not taken money from the Boulder County Democrat Party. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the candidates for participating in today's Senate District 5 debate and for your willingness to serve in the elected position. So with that, let's give them another round of applause.
Thank you.
And I'm going to turn it back over to Brittany.